The HOA cashed my check for the annual pool fees, then deactivated my key and told me I couldn't use the pool. They figured I'd get frustrated and give up, letting them keep my money for a service they refused to provide. They made a huge mistake. I found the one rule buried in our bylaws they never thought anyone would find, and I used it to get my access back, and a whole lot more. This is how I beat our HOA at their own game. It started like every year. The HOA letter arrived asking for the annual pool dues. I see it as a simple contract. I pay, and my family gets to use the pool. So I did what I always do. I wrote the check and mailed it off well before the deadline. A couple of weeks later, my bank account confirmed the check was cashed. As far as I was concerned, our deal was done. Then, the first hot Saturday of summer hit. The kids were bouncing off the walls, swimsuits on, ready for the pool. We walked down to the gate. I held the key fob up to the reader and... nothing. A blinking red light. I tried again. Same red light. The gate was locked. My kids' excitement melted into confusion. I told them it was probably just a technical glitch, but standing there, locked out of something I had paid for, I felt a hot wave of irritation. We did the walk of shame back home, our fun day dead on arrival. That afternoon, I sent a polite email to the HOA management company, explaining that my key must have been deactivated by mistake and asking them to reactivate it. I figured it was a simple admin error. I couldn't have been more wrong. The reply I got on Monday was a cold, generic red flag. Dear homeowner, our records indicate an outstanding issue with your account. Amenity access has been suspended pending resolution. What issue? I had a zero balance. I immediately replied, attaching a screenshot from my bank statement showing the cashed check. I asked them to tell me, point blank, what this outstanding issue was. Their next response was even more infuriating, as they completely ignored my proof of payment. This time, the email said, "Access cannot be restored until you have submitted the 2025 Annual Resident Information Form." Seriously? I'd lived here for a decade. Fine. If they needed a new form, I'd play their game. I found it, filled it out, and shot it back within the hour. "The form is submitted," I wrote. "Please restore my pool access immediately." I waited a day. Nothing. I sent a follow-up. The next day, a reply came, not from management, but from the HOA president herself. Let's call her Brenda. Brenda was notorious for ruling the HOA with an iron fist, seemingly enjoying every bit of her tiny power. Her email was dripping with condescension. "Receiving the form is just the first step," she wrote. "The board still needs to review your account. Upon review, we see you have an unresolved violation from 2023 regarding an unapproved garden gnome. Until that is settled, your privileges remain suspended." This was insane. The garden gnome. 2 years ago, they defined me $25 because my son S. ceramic gnome was 2 inches over the height limit for lawn ornaments. I had paid it just to make it go away. I went digging through my old emails, found the payment confirmation, and forwarded it to Brenda and the entire board. By now, it was obvious. There was no issue. They were making things up, moving the goalposts every time I complied. They had my money, and they were denying me the service I paid for, seemingly for sport. I felt powerless, arguing with people who could just invent new rules on a whim. This is the point where most people give up. The system is designed to frustrate you into submission. They count on you getting tired of fighting a faceless board. Have you ever been in a situation like this, feeling powerless against an organization? Tell me your story in the comments. And if you want to see how I turn the tables on them, make sure you hit that subscribe button. That night, my frustration cooled into steely determination. They had cashed my check. They took my money, so they had to hold up their end of the bargain. Brenda had messed with the wrong homeowner. I hauled out that giant binder with the HOA's bylaws and CC&Rs, the documents nobody ever reads, which is what they rely on. I spent hours slogging through dense legalese. What the HOA was doing wasn't just unfair, it was a breach of their own contract. Then I found it, buried deep in Article 18th, Section 4 of our own bylaws. It laid out the exact procedure for suspending privileges. Before suspending access, the board had to send a notice by certified mail, provide a 30-day cure period to fix the problem, and offer a formal hearing. They hadn't done a single one of those things. No certified letter, no cure period, no offer of a hearing. They had broken their own rules. But then I found the silver bullet. A section called Dispute Resolution stated that the person with the complaint had to formally request mediation. The board was then required to respond within 15 business days. If they failed to respond, they would be in default and automatically on the hook for any and all legal fees I racked up to fix the problem. I had them. The next day, I drafted a formal, physical letter. No email. Those are too easy to ignore. It was polite, professional, and ruthless, addressed to the HOA Board of Directors. I wrote, "Dear Board of Directors, this letter is formal notice regarding the suspension of my family's access to the community pool. My annual dues were paid in full and my check was cashed on date. A copy is enclosed. Your continued denial of this paid-for amenity is a breach of contract." Then I went for the kill. Your actions also violate our community's bylaws. Per Article 18th, Section 4, you failed to provide written notice, a cure period, or the opportunity for a hearing. Therefore, I am formally invoking the mandatory dispute resolution process outlined in Article 30. I hereby request formal mediation. As per the bylaws, you have 15 business days to respond. Failure to do so will place the HOA in default and, as stipulated, will make the association liable for all legal costs I incur. I sent the letter, along with a copy of the cashed check, via certified mail with a return receipt. They couldn't claim they never got it. The clock was officially ticking. For 10 business days, radio silence. I pictured the management company passing my letter to the board, followed by a panicked call from Brenda to the HOA's lawyer. I imagined that lawyer explaining just how badly they had screwed up. On the morning of the 11th day, my phone rang. It wasn't Brenda. It was a vice president from the management company. His tone wasn't condescending. It was apologetic. "Mr. My name," he started. "We're calling about your letter. It seems there's been a significant clerical error on your account. We are so sorry for the inconvenience." The classic clerical error excuse. The corporate way of saying, "You caught us." He told me my pool key had been reactivated and that a formal letter of apology was on its way. I let him finish. Then I said, "That's a good start, but it's not enough." I told him an apology didn't give my kids back the weekends they missed. Since they had breached our agreement for nearly a month, I expected a partial refund of my annual dues. I wasn't done. "And one more thing," I said. "I want a community-wide email sent from the board clarifying the exact procedure for amenity suspension, citing Article 17, Section 4. I want to make sure you can't use these bullying tactics on any other homeowner again." There was a long pause. Finally, he sighed and said, "I believe we can agree to those terms." An hour later, my key worked. That afternoon, the email clarifying the rules went out to the entire neighborhood. A week later, a refund check from the HOA arrived in my mail. My family and I spent the rest of that summer enjoying the pool, and every time I saw Brenda, she suddenly found the ground very interesting. So, what's the lesson? An HOA's power isn't absolute. It's limited by the very documents they write, and they are just as bound by those rules as you are. Your best weapon is to read those documents and know your rights. Don't let them bully you or give you the runaround. Always remember, they're counting on you giving up. Document everything, put it in writing, and use their own rulebook to fight back. What's the craziest HOA rule you've ever had to deal with? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Thanks for watching.